We've got a fantastic program, fantastic speakers here tonight. I want to go ahead and introduce them before they come up. Mike Barsick here is with South Face, a fantastic organization in Atlanta that advocates for energy conservation, energy efficiency. And then also around the solar project, we also have John Harding with Creative Solar, who'll talk to you about that. And then following them, we've got two folks that'll talk about EVs. One is Cornelius Willingham. He's with the manufacturer of Nissan. And then we also have Don Francis with Georgia Clean City. So you're going to get a fantastic program in education and information tonight, and Mike's going to lead us off.
Thanks, Kevin. And good evening. How are y'all doing? Are you excited? This is a really exciting topic tonight. I usually get to come and talk about energy efficiency, and that's my favorite thing in the world to talk about. But I also recognize that I think the topic tonight is renewables. So I'm going to try to be quick and offer that if anybody wants to talk about something specific on your home, I will stick around until everybody's done, okay? So I'm going to try to go quickly through my portion to give John and the other guys as much time as possible. But I'm also here, and Nerdon said, Mike, will you be our presenter on solar? And I'm like, I don't know that I'm really the qualified person for that, but how about if I just represent, I'm a person that put solar on my house. And when I say I put solar on my house, I paid for it. John and Seth back there actually put it on my house. But I thought I'd share that with a couple quick things. I was asked to just kind of answer a few random questions that came in. So here's a couple kind of no-brainer things. Number one is LED lighting, okay? So tonight, you're gonna go home, right, Bruce? If you have an incandescent bulb in your house, you're gonna take a hammer and smash it. Don't wait for them to burn out. Just go ahead and smash them, and skip the CFLs. Go right to the LEDs, and the energy use is approximately 1/6 for the same light output. So definitely no brainer. Also, LEDs put out a lot less waste heat, which this time of year is pretty important, right? So. A couple other kind of no-brainer things. Sorry, I'm trying to make, there we go. Oops, it's going to advance all the way or too much or not enough. So there's my solar clothes dryer. You can all get in the solar game a lot cheaper than what John's offering you, so don't forget that. You can do solar. I wanted to mention appliances and make a push for the really no-brainer approach here is to, when you're buying appliances, make sure it's got the Energy Star logo on it. That's the easy, consumer-friendly way to make sure you get the right appliances. God, I'm really sorry. All right, I may have to back up. A couple other things from a cooling standpoint, since it's summertime, make sure if you have ceiling fans that are operating, you need to be under them for them to actually do any good. Did you know that? So they cool you because they increase your body's ability to cool you by evaporative cooling. That means you need to actually be in the room with them. So if you drive by and you see somebody's front porch and no one's under it and the fan is running, just weep a small tear for me, right? But anyway, so make sure people are in there. They do make more efficient ceiling fans that generally have a more aerodynamic blade and not a paddle blade, and they also have more efficient motors. I know this is silly, but if you're willing to be active with how you live in your house, certain times you can close windows, open windows, but obviously if you have your mechanical system running, you're supposed to close the windows. Bruce Longino taught me that a long time ago. He is the smartest man I know. And I can say this because Cobb EMC also has a gas, right? You still have that, Kevin, right? I'm not going to get in trouble, right? You're still selling gas, right? Okay, so if you're hooked up to natural gas, generally if you're trying to heat something, that's going to be a more cost-effective way to get there than, say, electric resistance. So if you have a need to upgrade your washer-dryer, and you have gas run to your house, and you're going to pay for gas every month anyway, I would say consider upgrading to a gas clothes dryer. Going from an electric clothes dryer to a gas clothes dryer is about a $100 upgrade. And you should make that up pretty quickly with the economic savings, probably, at least $5 a month, maybe more than that. So that's a quick payback, and that's probably enough on that. Let's see. So we did talk about this last time I was here, the issue of who's got a house like the one. I grew up in a brick ranch house up in Rome, Georgia, and the water heater was in the shed over here on this end where the carport is. Guess where the shower was? It was like in the next county over here. So you used to have to run a lot of water down the drain to get hot water. This is a really neat retrofit solution you can put in. It's called an on-demand circulation system. The key is the on-demand, okay? It only runs the little pump when you actually tell it you want hot water. So you can either push a button or you can put a motion sensor in your bathroom. But this is a retrofit for that, and it saves a lot of water as well as some energy. And then, we talked a little bit about low flow fixtures. So a couple other things. Insulating hot water pipes, that's another easy, if you're a DIY person, if you insulate your hot water pipes, that actually really does save energy, particularly on the distribution losses. And I think that's as much as I wanted to go. Okay, so let's talk about solar. So I live in Decatur, and if you were in a satellite taking a picture of my house, then that's my house. And one thing you might notice is, do I have a laser on this? Watch me poke my eye out. But anyway, if you can look over here, you'll see I actually put a solar water heater on my house about 10 years ago when that seemed like a good idea. Today, I'm going to tell you not to do that. Isn't that interesting? No, well, a little bit from personal experience. I used a little bit higher technology called an evacuated tube, and my system's on the right. There's also flat panel water heaters. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you might be able to make the economics work. But I'm here to tell you tonight, this is where the game has shifted. I've been in this, I've worked for Southface now about 23 years. When I started, photovoltaic electricity, which is what we're going to talk about, we used to quote $10 a watt installed. And you're going to find today, or my system we installed last year, ended up costing me less than $2 a watt. So the economics are so good on PV, it's not worth doing solar thermal anymore. Did he just say that? John, are you loving me? I hope this is okay. It really is. Unless you're a DIY, the economics are better to put in more PV. You can do more things with the electricity.
We haven't installed solar thermal in 4 years.
In 4 years. And I don't know if you heard that, but this is the way the world has shifted. There's been a huge shift in the lowering of the cost of installing PV. So a lot to be said for that. PV, what is it PV? I'm so sorry. Anyone know? Photovoltaics. It's a panel like the one you see right back there. When light hits it, it converts it into electricity. So sorry for that, and thank you for that question. Okay, so that's a picture. My house, it's been painted since, but I had to let Seth crawl on the roof. He's one of those guys up there. And they installed a system I think that was in December. And that's what it looks like. It's 15 panels. It's 4,000 watts, which is a pretty small system by your normal standards, right? I don't know.
Actually, it's getting closer to the mean now.
Okay. I would say it seems like most of the people I knew could afford a bigger array than me. But I also was really limited by roof space, honestly. And I didn't think that they could get a system that size on there. But to their credit, they really understood the code and the setbacks required. And I said, let's max it out. So that system was part of a program I was a participant in called Solarize. And it ended up being $2.70 a watt. And then after the tax credit, it came down to about $1.90 a watt. So that is what I paid. I'm just saying that's what I paid. I'd been saving money for a PV system for a number of years. I wanted to do this, but I would suggest if you look at the economics, I would borrow money from Jennifer. She just said she would loan us some money, and I put this on, and it's a positive cash flow.
I got a question.
You got a question? Yeah.
Why did you put the panels on that side of the
So I'm gonna take one question and not go too deep with questions. So I want John to be able to answer that. So the best orientation for PV panels is to face due south, which is exactly the way my roof faces. So I was really fortunate on that. actually, if we were in Australia, it would be on the north side of the house, but we're in the northern hemisphere, so that's where you want. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and it tracks and hits the sun. The sun hits the panel all day long. You notice there's a chimney that shades the panel. That's not ideal. My wife is an architect, and the architectural committee of our household decided the chimney is going to stay. This is a note that you should understand that utility bills pale in comparison to divorce attorneys. So we're just going to go with that, okay? So that's how that works. Let's see. That's a picture from yesterday. That's my production profile. The blue is what it produces, and the orange is what it consumes. This all came as part of the system that Creative Solar installed. And you can see it gives me real-time updates in 15-minute increments. And you can track, so you can see that's a nice bell-shaped curve right there. And we're producing, the most, obviously, in the middle of the day. The dark blue means I'm surplus, and I'm selling it back to the utility. The dark orange means I'm consuming more than I'm producing, and the light colors is sort of what's left over. So that's pretty cool. To date, I'm going to wrap up here. So I had one full year of running the system where I could really sort of say 365 days before and 365 days after. And we produced enough that it offset 93% of our home's electricity bills. So I was now I will say we are definitely on the very energy conscious family side of things. So your mileage will vary in terms of will it offset that amount, but John's company said it was going to be 90% offset. We actually beat it. And again, I'm kind of I'm always turn off that light, turn off that fan. Yes, sir. Air conditioning doesn't exist in no, I'm just kidding. One interesting thing that I'll just make a quick point that my central air conditioning system would even if I ran it at the peak of the day, would overwhelm what my array could produce. So believe it or not, we actually have a pretty efficient window unit air conditioner. And I have a 1,500 square foot house, and the window unit I've done a lot to make it more efficient. It actually keeps up, believe it or not. So I can run that window unit and basically, not have to overconsume, so to speak. It's a game we play, okay? So my comfort level with temperature might not be everybody's. I totally get that. But I want to give John a lot of time. So to date, meaning literally since it was installed to today, it's been a 97% offset because we produce more in the summer than in the winter. Any quick questions? Yeah.
Those prices you paid per kilowatt last year, are they pretty the same right now?
The question is, did the price I pay last year, are those prices holding up? And the answer is that they've only gotten better for you. So see, I'm just setting you up like crazy. I'm like putting it on the tee and you're going to knock it out of the park. They actually have gotten less expensive. Now, that doesn't mean you should wait. The longer you wait, the less you're actually making money with your solar system. But yes, I think it's worth it. Any other quick question? That was a great question. Yep, I just wanted to say I will stick around, particularly if you have kind of energy efficiency questions. If you have questions about installing the systems, you've got some real experts in here. But even with them in the room, I will say nice things. I was very happy with Creative Solar, and they did an excellent job. So that's it for me. All right, thank you.
I've been a COB EMC member for over 30 years. Always lived right around here. Always used COB EMC as our utility. So you happen to live in a country where you walk over to a light switch and some things don't happen, you get very, very surprised very, very quickly. And that is absolutely not the case in about 60% of the world. So the fact that you exist in a country where electricity is readily available and, as was alluded to, is tremendously inexpensive in the state of Georgia. We pay on average about 12 cents a kilowatt hour. We were on a conference call with some people in California who were talking about energy storage and the reason to pursue energy storage, and one of the reasons was to reduce the amount that you would receive when you sent it back to one of the California utilities. And they said it's horrifying because that price could drop as low as 28 cents a kilowatt hour that you're going to get in credit. And that means they were paying about 35 about 2 years ago. So we have a very, very solid, reliable infrastructure in the state of Georgia. We have a tremendous group of membership corporations in the state of Georgia. All right, so what we're looking at is, why is Cobb EMC a partner for you for renewables? They've been a partner with us for a long, long time. We install systems in Cobb County. They are actually reviewing options to engage with renewable energy sources. As you heard, they are probably one of the larger consumers of solar, certainly in the state, as far as the EMC goes, which puts them fairly high up in terms of nationally. Choices for the membership to better enable and reward stewardship of energy. So anything that you do, and certainly the EV program that's being announced, is tremendous opportunity for you to improve the manner in which you can be good stewards of power. And you are stewards of power. You don't make it, you only get to use it, so you want to use it as effectively and efficiently as you possibly can. Enables access to alternative engineering companies such as us. The reason that we're here talking to you right now in Cobb EMC's facility is because they are proponents of solar power, and that's why we're here. Fosters a productive environment for renewable energy providers. Same issue, really. They're very, very solid in terms of the way that they relate to EPCs such as ourselves. And they enable members' participation in renewable energy and simplify the interconnection process, which is not always an easy thing to do. When you put solar on the roof of your house, you want to interconnect it with the grid. Cobb EMC is a very, very easy partner to work with in terms of making sure that we safely and effectively get power out of the system to the grid as it needs to go. We were created in June 2008. We are a GSA certified company, a turnkey solar provider, or that basically means developer. So everything that you need in order to get solar on the roof of your property, whether it be residential or commercial, we will do. You say jump, we say how high, and then when we land it, it's finished. So we are a total turnkey provider. Thank you. Quick poll we want to make of you, just show of hands. So how many of you have any experience with solar in the room right now? And how many of you, is this the first time that you're considering solar for your home at all? Ooh, and have you ever evaluated solar for your home? And I'm assuming there was some that did not. And have you ever solicited a proposal for solar installation? Okay, and have you ever approached Cobb EMC about solar? Very good, thank you. I told you it wasn't me. So what we're going to go over as quickly as we can, you can just pop through these until they're all displayed. So what is it? How does it work? How much does it cost? And how long does it take me to get it back? And then what steps are we going to have to take, and what are we expecting that we're going to get in terms of benefits of installing solar on my property? Next one, please. So the other questions are, so what if the grid goes down? Everybody wants to know what happens if the grid's not there and I've got solar panels on my house, so I get to sit there and be happy and my neighbor doesn't have power. Unless you have an energy storage solution or unless you have a generator, you are going to have to shut that system down. That's a requirement by the National Electrical Code. It's a requirement by local code. So if you don't have the means to isolate your system from the grid, you risk electrocuting a lineman that's going out there trying to provide a remedy. And we produce 240 volts at 60 hertz. And you touch that, it hurts. So we shut down. Every time that the grid goes away, if you don't have a battery, you don't have a generator, it will shut down. Limitations on it, how the batteries and energy storage work in conjunction with solar. Next one, please. So solar energy is the radiant energy produced by the sun. We use that portion of the spectrum, which is energy produced by the sun, which is visible light. A little bit of infrared, a little bit of ultraviolet. The majority of it lives in the meat of the spectrum. Next one, please. This is basically a map that shows you where do you receive the highest level of insolation in the United States. And the big dark orange blob that sits over on the far southwest corner, they don't really get any more sun per se in terms of hours, but they are drier and they are higher. And so there's less atmosphere. And that basically is why Arizona, Nevada, California, New Mexico, all the four corner states essentially, that's why they're such great places to install solar, because they don't get an awful lot of rain, they don't get a lot of moisture in the air, and they have less atmosphere that they're actually having that light pass through. Next, please. What should I expect to look at on solar energy? Well, obviously you have solar panels. Those are the solar collectors, which are responsible for the conversion of photoelectric or photovoltaic effect, which is what makes a solar panel work, where a photon actually pops an electron loose, a hole loose, and creates a voltage. That's essentially what a solar panel does. It provides the means for light to produce electrical energy. It is a DC voltage that is coming off of the roof. The inverter and the microinverter are devices which are required in order to take that DC voltage, which, curiously, an awful lot of devices that you have around you consume DC like that, but you always have to charge them off of AC. So we need to get your voltage running from DC to AC, and that is the function of the inverter. It basically takes that DC voltage, which is going to vary between 40 to 60 volts, and converts it to 240 volts, 60 cycles. 100% sine wave match to whatever the grid is doing at any one point in time. Next, please. We were going to talk a little bit about solar energy thermal, but he's basically shut it down, so we're going to pass right over that one, please. So how does it work for you? As we said, you have insolation of solar, or sunlight falls onto the solar panel, creates DC, comes down off of the roof. The inverter will create the DC current, or rather convert the DC current into an alternating current for your home consumption. It will then pass into the distribution panel and basically service any of the electrical loads that you have in the house. If you have production which is in excess of the loads which currently exist in the house, there is the potential for that energy to pass back out to the grid. You probably don't want to send an awful lot of power back to the grid, but you know that you can and you will. So we try and size the systems to meet the loads which exist in your home, both loads that exist right now, and because you're talking about something that's going to be around for a long time, what's your house and home going to look like in 15 years, 10 years, 8 years? Do you have 3-year-olds versus 14-year-olds? Are you going to have any more children? Do you have kids that are moving out? Do you have people that are moving back in? Understanding what the load looks like in your home and will look like is critical to understanding how much we need to put on the roof. Next one, please. Is my home good for solar? As you heard referenced, a good southern exposure is usually considered to be the best. If you've got a roof pitch which is looking south, or within 15 to 20 degrees of due south, then you're not going to have any issues. However, we can work just as easily on a north-south ridge because you have got an eastern and a western face on the roof. Put panels on both sides. You lose a little bit in terms of the overall production experience that you would have on a single day, but you're going to get very, very close. You're within about 8 to 10%. Shade considerations. Probably the bigger issue that you're going to deal with is any shade that might basically impact upon that roof. Trees are the killer. Shade will kill any solar project that you're considering. When you look at a tree, you've got to consider where it is right now, and where is it going to be in 4 years and 8 years and 12 years, because it will grow. It will continue to grow. And it may not induce shade on the roof now, but you need to consider where it might be in the future. Any development of adjacent lots. We had a customer out in Athens. Had a lot next to them, wasn't touched. And it was the very corner of about a 15 to 17 acre site, and they decided they were going to put 12-story buildings on that site. So that's where you start getting into the question of a solar easement. And in the state of Georgia, you can indeed have a solar easement issued. And what you do is you get with a property owner adjacent to you and you say, right now you do not shade me, and I would like you to enjoin any subsequent development that would introduce shade onto my property. You do not have solar rights in Georgia, but you do have solar easement rights. You can't say you can't ever stop me from putting solar on my roof, but you can say once it's there, I have an agreement. And if it is achieved in writing, that is a transferable easement that can be passed from owner to owner. Next one, please. How long does a solar system last? 25 years is the performance warranty on a solar panel. And that means whatever the system produces when it goes up on your roof today, in 25 years, it will be producing 80% of that value. It's a performance warranty. It's not a manufacturer's defect. It's not anything else. It means that in order to maintain the productivity of that system, it will continue up at 80% in 25 years. That's where the key to the investment that you make lives. 35 to 45 years, it's difficult to say. Everyone says, well, how long does a solar panel last? It's as long as you don't break the glass and you keep it clean. The doping that goes into the materials that are in the solar cells, they're probably going to be good for 40 to 45 years. So that's the best estimate that we can give you. The inverters, because they do the majority of the work, you're looking at about 10 to 25, depending upon how they're being used. A microinverter, 25 years without thinking about it. A string inverter is going to be about 10 years. Next, please. So what do you need to look for? Somebody like us. First and foremost, you need to have a certified master electrician. You need to make sure that you're going to meet all local code, you're going to meet national code, and you are going to have a safe installation. You need to make sure you got a certified master electrician, that being the 2014 NEC code 690, which is for the photovoltaic installation. Properly trained installers, they are NABCEP certified, and that is the North American Board of Certified Energy Professionals or Practitioners. And essentially, we make sure that the people that we use are exposed to NABCEP training so that you can make sure that the installation that occurs on your roof is reliable, done professionally, and is going to last. You need somebody who's familiar with the local permitting and inspection process. They propose and use Tier 1 equipment. Tier 1 is the definition of quality of product and quality of company. So basically, it's a good quality product, and it's a company that's going to be around, because a 25-year warranty from a company that's not around in 2 is generally not going to help you a lot. Although it's not that hard, because all the warranties are bonded. They have to provide bonding on any warranty device so that it's always going to be covered. Longevity in your market, as I say, we've been here about 10 years. We understand this market. We're all over the state. We know exactly what it is that we have to do to get systems up and running. Responsive to the questions before you sign, which we will be at the end. Responsive to your concerns after you sign, and probably a commitment to be there after you're installed. Because it's going to be reliable until you experience a problem. We want to make sure that we're going to be able to have the answers to you, and we're going to fix whatever issues that you come up with. Next one, please. Oh, back up one, I apologize. All right, there, you can stick with that. So what happens if the grid goes down? We've already talked about it. Next slide. Right at the top, there you go. So if the grid goes away, we already know that PV's got to shut down, because we have anti-islanding, we can't electrocute anybody. We need to make sure that we're not pushing power out unless we have a backup battery or an energy storage solution, which enables us to form a grid, a microgrid within our home inside of a switch. Next slide, please. This is a small energy storage solution. It's right around 30 kilowatt hours. Just sits down in this gentleman's basement. He loses power. He's got about 30 kilowatt hours that's sitting there waiting for him. Next slide. This is a 200 kilowatt hour energy storage solution. We installed both of them. This gentleman happened to have a greater need and a little bit more cash, and he decided to go and put 200 kilowatt hours of stored energy in his home. It's scalable completely. You can start with small, you can get bigger and bigger and bigger. Whatever you need, whatever the demand is that you have in your home, you can meet. Next slide, please. The outer limits, right now, you can put 10 kilowatts of AC on the roof of a residential structure. That is by law. You can put 100 kilowatts AC of solar power onto a commercial building, which is also enshrined in law. Next slide, please. Increases the home value and the marketability. Will give you about a $15,000 increase in terms of the value of the home when you go to sell it. People like homes with solar on it. Increases the R factor of the roof. You get about a 20-degree difference between the top and the bottom of a solar panel. When you put solar on the roof of the building, you reduce the temperatures in the attic. You also extend the life of any of the materials that you have as roofing, because they will never see UV again. So you got about 10 years to your roof underlying the solar panels, and you reduce the temperature in the attic by about 20 degrees, which increases the efficiency of the AC that's running in your home, because the attic is where the heat needs to go. Next one, please. So to recap, your guidelines for going solar: look for a NABCEP professional installer, find a certified electrician, or make sure that that installer has a certified electrician who is also NEC 690, which is the solar code. Make sure that you're comfortable with permitting, both for the city and or the county, because they can be very different when you're looking to a city or when you're looking to a county. Make sure that you get the references from installed systems, which we have one of right here. You need to make sure that the people that you're talking to have actually installed systems effectively. Otherwise, you're putting a lot of very expensive glass, aluminum, and steel on the roof that is not going to get what you really want it to do for you. And you need to make sure that they're going to provide you with a solid, reliable quality of work. And we will show you any of the installations which we have done. They're on our website. You can take a look at them and you can figure out exactly how our quality works. You can see what we had on Marks as far as installing on a somewhat difficult roof. So those are the things you need to be looking for. Next one, please. Collect 12 months worth of utility bills. Critical element in terms of understanding how much power do you need from solar on your roof is knowing how much power do you use. What is the load that you experience on a routine basis? You give me 12 months and we've got a fairly solid understanding of exactly how much power do you use, how much solar you're going to need to be able to provide an offset to that. Whereabouts is your meter in the breaker panel? How can you get to it? What is the condition and the age of your roof? Anybody here that's got a roof that's over 15 years old? Get it fixed. If you want to put solar up on the roof of your home, you do not want to put it up on a roof that's over about 15 years old. Because in a couple of years, you're going to say, I have to replace my roof. And you now have to take the solar off before you can put the solar on. So we always recommend that you evaluate the roof. If it's been about 15 years, you want to get it replaced now. And again, once you have that replaced, you've added 10 years to the life of the roof that is underlying the solar panels, which is always on the side of the roof, which is going to get the most sun, and UV is what reduces the life of the roofing materials. What is the utility company solar program? Do they have one? You need to evaluate what the utility, we're all COB EMC here, so we're all fairly consistent. We know it's very easy to do, but that can have a tremendous impact on the viability of solar on a roof. There are certain local utilities that will charge you for a kilowatt hour of energy that's installed, or rather a kilowatt of a system that's installed on the roof of your home as a standby fee. And they range from $7 a kilowatt to $12 a kilowatt. So if you have 10 kilowatts on your roof, you would be paying $70 to $120 a month just for having solar. Cobb EMC does not do that. That's why we don't have any problems here in Cobb County or in the Cobb EMC district. Next one, please. How do we pay for it? Well, cash is king, obviously. First and foremost, if you have got access to funds that's going to enable you to do that, then certainly you can make that procurement very easily. You can use an equity line of credit on the home. SunTrust and a couple of other banks have got solar loans that are based upon that. You can look at a 20-year lease in which the finance company essentially takes advantage of the fact that they are going to get a tax credit. They own the array, you buy the power. And that's the SEPA or the PPA basically, which is complete third-party ownership and financing of the array. You don't have to put any money into it at all. But again, you get none of the benefits in terms of the tax incentives. Next one, please. 30% federal tax credit. And again, this is a credit. It is not a rebate, which means that for 4 years after you install the system, you can take up to a total of 30% of the investment value of the solar property as a credit against income or against income tax that's owned to the federal government, the IRS specifically. And you just use that for 4 years and you make sure you can exhaust it. And essentially you've reduced the price of the array by 30%. It's cash that you have pocketed because you have not paid the government the tax. At the end of the tax year, you say, take it out of my credit. 100% financing available for any of the solar arrays that you're going. Most of the credit companies that we use, the finance companies that we use, they will finance 100% of the procurement. Excuse me. Next one, please. Next one, please. So the resources that you have and should consider, obviously, first and foremost is Cobb EMC. These are the people that you have the primary relationship in terms of energy. That's the guys that know about electricity, they know about solar, they know about us, and they should be able to provide you with a good conjoined solution. National Renewable Energy Lab, that basically is a resource that we use, but you can certainly use it also to determine, is my roof good for solar, and how much power can I expect to generate off of my roof? If you have got that level of interest, and you pursue that level of detail, you can certainly use NREL as a resource to get there. Georgia Solar, that's the Georgia Solar Energy Association. That's probably, it is, really it is more policy, it is integration of students, population, manufacturers, is trying to get a consensus view in the population as to exactly how solar should work and can work in the state of Georgia. PV Watts is an application that you can certainly use, which is the NREL product. You give it some very small pieces of information and it will return to you exactly how much energy you can expect to produce in the course of a year. Next one, please. That is quick. That being done, again, we will have questions that we're going to answer at the end of this, but again, I appreciate your patience. Anything that's kind of fuzzy, we'll get to it as quick as we can.